Welcome to the Mortgage Broker Podcast, tailor-made for Canadian mortgage industry professionals. Proudly presented by A Better Way Mortgage Group, this podcast is your trusted source for insider insights, market updates, and strategies to elevate your career in the ever-evolving world of mortgage brokering. Whether you're a seasoned broker with A Better Way Mortgage Group or an industry enthusiast looking to stay ahead, our episodes are designed to empower you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the Canadian mortgage space. So, kind of moving into like the announcement and, where we're at, it's probably pretty obvious for listeners at this point. But, this is where we're finally able to come together and come to a conclusion on a path forward together. This is essentially where we're at. We're merging Origin with A Better Way Mortgage Group. And the primary reason is we bring different value to the table. And, we realized that we were really good at building our team and our business when we were running Thrive. We had the same intentions to build out the underwriting model. We found it very difficult because we were no longer running Thrive anymore. There is a lot of staff sharing and different, resources that go back and forth. And so when we lost that, it made it very challenging for us to build out, the same model from the ground up again. Plus, the reality is what we want to charge for the processing support is usually too expensive for the broker on the other end. And we had no other option but to charge what we needed to charge to actually be able to hire these people. That's the paradox for most of these underwriting models is they usually have inferior people because they're not charging enough or they're not doing enough parts of the file to actually charge what they need to charge, right? And it's back to the choppy process. So we came together and essentially Expressway will be the A Better Way Mortgage Group's underwriting model unit. It's going to be built, far more aggressively than it has been in the past because now we have more resources for more brokers to utilize it with the two coming together. So that was a big angle for us, just on that piece alone. Like, how do you feel about that? Is that aligned with kind of where?
I feel awesome. I'm not just saying that because you're sitting right here, to be honest. I want to unpack a little bit about what kind of goes into that kind of decision making because Origin was close to $1 billion a year in funded volume. We weren't small. But I feel like what's been happening with the MSA and all these other changes, AML, FinTrack, and MSA, compression in mortgage spreads overall, like more compliance requirements, like you name it. And a lot of brokers are getting squeezed, but the squeeze then comes to the brokerage too. And brokerages have a lot more overhead, right? So this is a key thing that I think going from like running your own not little, but like your own business and being a broker with like maybe one staff member. If you operate a large scale business, let's say that you make $2.5 million of revenue with a $2 million expense line item. Like if your revenue goes down by 20%, you go from making $500,000 a year to making zero.
Yeah.
When you're a new broker or getting up there and you're making $300,000 in a year, and then your revenue goes down 20%, you make $240,000. You still make a profit. It's very different when you're running a business with a smaller margin, right? And that's a big key difference to understand. So what happens as a brokerage, you have higher costs. You have brokers saying, hey, I'm making less money, so I need to negotiate a split. And they have time to do that now because they're not doing as many deals. So you get kind of squeezed in the middle. And to be honest, like we had so many conversations, and really where we kind of left off that underwriting union a couple of years ago was the only way we can do it is if we combine underwriting centers, then like where does the volume go? And that's kind of where things at the time kind of fell off the rails. Like, well, if I'm underwriting the deals and it has to, for compliance reasons, has to go into Origin, and you guys aren't going to want just like all of that volume to like leave A Better Way. And then we were like, well, we're not really ready to merge. We're just like, okay, I think we know where this would have to take us to do it. But we kind of had to separate and like, okay, maybe now is not the time.
Yeah.
But we ended up kind of circling back to it because I still believe, I believe firmly that the underwriting center model is going to be a much more significant way of the future.
Yeah.
Because with AI and all these things, ultimately AI serves people that have the time and resources to invest into it better. And an underwriting center funding $1 billion a year in mortgage volume is going to have the resources to pour into making those efficiencies much better. A broker doing $30 million a year doesn't have the resources to spend time doing that.
Totally. And AI only works with a process, a human process that's systematized and the same every way. And AI will and is a big component of everything we're doing right now. I would say both of us are much farther ahead from a tech perspective than most in the industry. And, with the power of the partners within Newton and everything that we have at our disposal, that will be a big component of the future of not just the underwriting model or the processing model, but everything going on in the brokerage. But I'd say when you look at the cost of running a brokerage, the compliance side of things became a huge focus with FinTrack 18 months ago. We spent a ton of time and money and resources into developing that. And, back to my earlier comment, when we decided to actually get into running a brokerage and recruiting brokers, was a volume issue. And that volume target just keeps going further and further out.
Up and up and up.
Yeah.
Right.
It's becoming challenging even for $1 billion shop to maintain status and access to every single lender. And so, the consolidation side of things is just essentially what we've done here. And we're seeing a lot more of that within, much smaller franchises. Like if you're a smaller franchise under that $500 million mark, there really isn't much other paths here than finding another group to consolidate with.
I agree. I think we might be one of the bigger, earlier movers, but I absolutely see us being in the early side of this trend. There's going to be even more consolidation coming down the pipeline. We're going to see a lot more of this, frankly.
What it really does is it solidifies the future for our agents to know that they're going to be protected with the absolute best compliance support in the industry, because we have the resources to continue to grow it and make sure we're on top of it. Our brokers are always going to have the very best lender access from the highest tier, the most amount of compensation possible, and access to every lender that is in our channel. That is our goal. It's something we pride ourselves on, is lender access. And it's whatever lender it is, if they're in the channel, we have them and we have the top tier status, and we make a point of supporting all of our lender partners because they're so important. And that's only going to help us with the consolidation. It's only going to help you and your team, and our brokers are ultimately going to benefit from all these angles. But back to Expressway, and now Expressway can benefit from all of that as well, and benefit from more volume, benefit from, better tech, better support, better systems, because we have the volume to support it. And the brokers, to your point, are more and more going to need that type of support. And I'm really looking forward to, from a Better Way perspective, our brokers having the ability to access this.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Circling back to the decision to do this, I think it's really important to focus on what you do best. And I've really, as the profitability of Origin has become more and more challenging in the last couple of years. I mean, I bought it January 2022. That was literally the peak of the mountain, and it just slowly started to turn right at that moment, right? But if I really look at what am I truly the best at, I think that underwriting and getting deals done, and so underwriting, systems, training, just getting deals done and having a system and process for doing so is really what my highest and best use is, my value proposition. And interestingly, we both bought brokerages and we kind of went in different directions. You got out of the deal making side, which allows you to better recruit. Because I find it's you try to do both, but when you're chained to the desk working 10 to 12 hours a day getting deals done, I'm not out there following up with brokers, say, hey, you should join Origin, let's have coffee, let's have lunch, all that kind of stuff. You were probably able to do that even with Thrive a little bit because you had Derek, who's more of the underwriting, get the deals done side, and you're more the go out there and meet people. So the partnership kind of made sense. But that's also where I kind of looked at it and said, well, my growth strategy should be mostly on the back of the underwriting center and the training, but then you also have to market it and get people to know about it. And that also is another job. So it's do I just run this and then pay somebody to recruit to bring in brokers into that ecosystem? Because really, my best purpose is probably to be getting the deals done, right? And so that's where really looking at what you guys do really well. You guys are ridiculously awesome at getting in front of brokers and the recruiting side and telling people about the reasons to join a Better Way. What I'm really good at is I'm still doing deals, and I'm really good at that. Yeah. And so we look at it well, you guys can bring more people into a Better Way, which grows it more, which then provides more value because now we have more lender access, we have more volume to go back to lenders to get better things, etc. But you guys can recruit more if you have a landing center. You say, we have an awesome training system and we have an awesome underwriting system, and that's used to pull more people in. And for me, I can just do what I do best, which is running these two things without having to also find brokers to tell them all about it to bring them into the fold. I just do the very best at running those those two.
Totally. And just to put a bow on like the consolidation side of things, and for broker owners like listening to this, like the ability to not have the same staff member doing the same thing because they can do so much more with the capacity. Because now we're together, we're either repurposing people for things that they're better at, their genius zone, like you just mentioned, your genius zone is clearly getting these deals done and focusing on what you love to do. That goes right down the whole company line of people being repurposed, people being, able to do what they're really good at, opposed to wearing 6-7 different hats within the company. And I mean, you mentioned training, that's a good segue there. Like that's been a big focus for us is training and constant support when it comes to education around everything to do with the business. Our focus has largely been around getting our team in front of, strategies when it comes to growing their business, strategies around building a process and implementing a process and a system, the constant support from lenders and educational events, live events. Educational events have been a focus for our culture. And, that's one thing that, we get to share now with the Origin brokers and start to, build that collective culture together. The one thing I just wanted to say before rolling into the training side of things is like, if you're an Origin broker, like nothing breaks here, like you're only going to get more. And if you're in a Better Way broker, like nothing changes here. You're only going to get more access to somebody like yourself from a resource perspective with the education and the content that you have, but also the expressway opportunity and the ability to tap into a fantastic system and really, double, triple your business if that's what you want to do. So I just wanted to put a bow on that. And, the training side of things, which is again, big focus for us, you take that to a whole nother tier because of the focus and the content that you're building. And that's going to be one of the pillars that you're focused on going forward. Maybe we can just chat about that.
I talked about it earlier, but making sure that you're learning the right things at the right time and having a approach where you're getting access to the information when you need it. And I believe that by having access to this as course material, quizzes, testing, like actually creating like courses for this. This is not just watch the video and then you know how to do it. Like we're literally doing it so that, okay, we're teaching you now, if you're a new broker, this is how to calculate rental income. So go back into your Velocity application. And now we're going to show you add in and add to income and look at what happens at 50% add to income, 85%, a rental offset. What does that do to the numbers? And then test people on like making sure like, okay, so once you have your file built this way, what result do you have? What's your TDS? And then it's like, if you're incorrect, it's like, no, you're wrong. Go back and fix it.
Yeah.
Like there's something wrong here. And like having really structured system, like a systematic approach to training, it doesn't exist. And like everybody is clamoring for it.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like, Dustin Woodhouse brings this up all the time when we chat about this type of stuff. It's like you spend $10,000, $12,000, or it's probably even more than that, to go become a hairdresser.
Yeah.
But, $1,000 in a cell phone and you become a mortgage broker with a course that teaches you nothing about mortgage brokering. Yeah. It's pretty crazy to think about. And so this is going to be your baby in a sense. Like the way you've explained it to me, like it's like the yellow brick road to building a proper business in this industry. And it's really built upon like a university type feel.
Yeah. And bringing it down into the modules that you need to know when you need to know it. And every course is like, what's the category? Is it underwriting or is it sales or is it, systems or marketing, et cetera? And then is it a 101 course, a 201 course, et cetera? Because all of these things is making sure that we isolate the information to be learned when you need to actually learn it. So you're not going in and doing 301 level courses on like how to read financial statements so you can do corporate net income for clients with 12 rental properties when you're 10 days into the industry.
Yeah.
Like, why are you knowing how to do that? You just need to know how to turn a person into a lead. That's all you need to do. So then it's like, okay, what are the elevator pitches when you meet somebody that's a first-time home buyer? What's your value proposition? Somebody who's self-employed, value proposition. What is all that? And then creating a system where you just plug them into the system and then tag them as, okay, this person I met is a self-employed first-time home buyer. And then boom, they get email campaigns sending out to them so that then there's constant information and communication going to that customer that's relevant for them. And then you just meet as many people as you can, have your elevator pitch based on this information, deliver the value proposition, put them into the campaign and go meet another person. So you're turning people into leads, right? And then after you're starting to get that, now you have leads that want to know more and take the next step to an application. So now you have to convert a lead to an application. How do you do that intake or discovery call next, right? That's the next thing you need to know. And then, okay, great, I've done that now. Now I have an application. What documents do I need? Okay, so now we need to go from application to fully documented, right? And then once you get the documents, and now how do I underwrite the file? But like, why are we learning how to underwrite when you're 5 days into the business, when you might need to know some of the basics to know how to communicate with clients to turn people into leads, but you don't need to know the complex ones, because you can just tell them, hey, there's lots of different options, 40 different lenders. Really what we should be doing is collecting your information, and then once I have it, then I can figure out your options. And guess what happens? You have a underwriting center and a training center that is insulating you so that, okay, great. If you can turn people into leads and then leads into applications, we can do the rest. Okay, Now here are the documents you need. Here are the options for that client. Here's this, here's that. But you know what we can't help? We cannot help you and force you to turn people into leads. Like, if you can do that part of the business, you can be a successful broker with the insulation around you to help you get going.
It's really how Expressway reinforces the coaching.
You have to combine them. That's the key. And that's where, like, you have to kind of have both. And that's why we're doing this, where I'm doing both, because the training has to have an insulated approach where, okay, now you're like, now what documents do I need? And you have a document manager you just talk to, and they train you and they go through it. And the system automates a lot of this kind of stuff. But like, why do we need these documents? So the client's asking, like, what do we need? Why do we need them? Like, you should know these things, right?
And what better way to learn how to build your own system and operation? Like, if you aspire to be, building like the Green Mortgage team or Thrive Mortgage, like, you want that operation, why not work inside of it and get paid to do it? Like, I've talked to so many mentors, and I think about this all the time. If I was going to go into a new industry, I'd go work for the best guy for free.
Yeah.
Like, you get paid and get to build your own business, build your own personal brand, all while having the most elite system behind you to experience. Like, that's a huge opportunity for folks that are looking to get into this industry, or bankers looking to transition.
100%. Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. If you found value in this show, please subscribe to our channel on your preferred platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Your support is incredibly appreciated. We also welcome your reviews and feedback, which are crucial in helping us deliver outstanding educational content. Feel free to share your thoughts. A 5-star review would be fantastic if you think we earned it. Now, a message about something that means a great deal to us and to everyone at A Better Way Mortgage Group. City Reach Care Society is our chosen charity partner for 2026. For over 20 years, City Reach has been serving thousands of vulnerable individuals, children, and families across Greater Vancouver. They call themselves the Hope Business. When you see what they do, you'll understand why. Through their Food for Families program, City Reach provides fresh, nutritious groceries to over 4,500 people every single month. They partner with 54 schools across Vancouver, Surrey, and the Tri-Cities to make sure kids have access to food, hygiene supplies, and the support they need to thrive. Every August, their back-to-school blast puts backpacks filled with school supplies into the hands of 1,000 children heading back to the classroom. Here's what makes your support go even further. Every single dollar donated to City Reach translates into $10 worth of food for families in need. You can learn more, donate, or sign up to volunteer at cityreach.org. That's CITYREACH.org. Once again, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.